What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Screencast. My name is Nick Scarpino, and today we are going to be talking about Stranger Things Season 4, Part 1. Joining me on this lovely screencast is the big dog, Kevin Coelho.
I'm very excited to talk about this show with you guys right now.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk to you guys about it as well. And the king of Halloween, Blessing Adeoye Jr.
Nick, you're really rocking the glasses. I love it.
I have no choice, Blessing. My body has revolted against me, and now my eyes are going. If you guys didn't listen to the podcast last week,
You've beaten the fight, though. It's over. Now it's just the recovery.
Yeah, the tides of war has shifted in my favor.
It doesn't look like he won the fight, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, don't show anyone.
You look cool right now.
You look
because
cool
it is
right
a jump
now.
scare.
Yeah, it's pretty jolting. All week long, I did shows all week, and I did them with sunglasses live. And
Good.
so when one of my friends put it best, he was like, you should just rock the black eye, maybe put a little makeup on it, because right now you look like a cocaine dealing werewolf. And I was like,
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
well that's something.
That's a compliment. I know for a
I'll
fact
take
you
that
love
as the
werewolves.
highest mark. I mean,
And
I like making fun of both those things, ladies and gentlemen. But that's not what we're here to talk about right now. Of course, all three of us just finished Stranger Things Season 4, Part 1. And a couple fun facts about this. They released it in two parts, obviously, because these are very, very, very long episodes. The Duffer Brothers wrote a letter a few months back to the audience saying, hey, nerds, we're all here for you. We're going to release this season. We want to get it out as soon as possible. But in order to do that, we have to, unfortunately, break it up into two parts. And I'm of two minds on this. Personally, I'm like, I was like, why would you do this? But then by the time I got to the end of episode 7, I'm like, I'm stoked. I don't care. I don't give a shit when when episodes 8 and 9 come. I'm ready to rock and roll. Kevin with his hand up.
Man, I can't believe how much I have flipped on this, where it's like, because these episodes are so long and meaty, I would have been 100% fine doing a week to week for this. Like, I'm happy that I could binge as much as I could, but like, I think that like it's too bad they didn't try changing the format for this show, because like this I think could have carried us week to week.
And I think this show would have fit week to week. Like, there are certain big reveals, certain like big things that happen where it's like, dude, I wish I had time to speculate about this, because like I feel like this is the kind of show that would benefit from like letting that mystery linger, in the way that last year when we all watched WandaVision and you had theories like week to week of people being like, oh, what if it's this? What if this person shows up, right? I feel like this season of Stranger Things, more so than any other season of Stranger Things, would have benefited from us sitting down and going, all right, but like, what is up with what Eleven's going through? What is up with like XYZ
Yeah.
character? Because like they by the time you get there in episode 7, there is so much that is pulled back, and you're like, whoa, what the fuck? Okay, I did not see that coming.
So we're gonna go spoiler free for the first part about this, just so we can give our reactions. Obviously, they're good right now, but I want to go through a couple quick facts. Obviously, these episodes, the average episode runtime was around 78 minutes per episode. There have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 released so far, and the next 2 are going to come in at a total of 4 hours. So I believe episode 8 is going to be an hour and a half. And then episode 9 is going to be 2.5 hours for the season 4 finale. And we know for sure that there is a season 5 coming, and that will be what the Duffer Brothers have said will be the final season. Which, when they announced that before I watched season 4, I was like, cool, whatever. I'll probably watch season 4 and not even care. I won't even care, guys. I'm cool. I'm not even going to care. Now I'm like, they could keep making this show forever. Notable directors on this, obviously the Duffer Brothers directed 4 of these episodes. Sean Levy directed a couple of them, as did Nimrod Antal. And Sean Levy, of course, most notably for his hit with Free Guy. He directed that one. And then
Really
Nimrod
shockingly fun movie.
really fun movie. He's a good director. And then Nimrod Antal was a name that popped up on the screen, and I was like, why do I know that name? And I looked him up, and he's the guy that directed Predators, which was what I would say is one of the arguably better Predators movie that have come out in the last pretty much ever. So if you haven't seen that one, that's the one with Adrian Brody where he gets dropped on the island onto the world, and it's just badass. And Lawrence Fishburne's there as well.
Is he doing the prequel Prey?
Oh, maybe we can look that up real quick.
I'm trying to look it up now.
Look that up while we talk. But Blessing, I want to start with
that's not the name of the prequel. I think I messed that.
Prey is the name of the
prequel.
Yeah, it's badass. That's going to be a good one
Very
too.
cool.
That's going to be worth watching. Blessing, I want to start with you. What did you think, spoiler free, of Stranger Things season 4, part 1?
Spoiler free, I have a lot of thoughts. Overall, I really enjoyed the season, but I found that this season, I think, was the first time while watching Stranger Things that at certain points during I was bored. And I think a lot of that comes down to it comes down to a few things. I think the change up in pacing from the longer episodes contributes to that a bit, because I'll get to certain points in the episode where I'm like, oh,
Mm.
is this not done? And I'll check the time and I'm like, oh shit, okay, there's 30 minutes left. And that's not necessarily in the way where I'm like, oh man, I need this to end now, but more so in the
Yeah.
way of like, oh man, this is like, it still feels like a TV show as opposed to like a movie, but it has movie length. And so it's just that like conflict of like how what you feel is supposed to be the wrap up of the show. And so there's a bit of that I felt maybe could have been bettered by like better pacing and like maybe more action going on. But like aside from that too, I think a problem I had were some of the B plots. Like they do the thing that they do often in Stranger Things, where they separate certain parts of the group because there's so many characters to deal
Yeah.
with and so many different plot lines to tackle. And so you have like the core group of kids, you have what's going on with the adults, and then you also have what's going on with 11. And I found that the 11 plot line and the adult plot line, for the most part, for me, wasn't engaging until the final episode of part one. Like by the time I got to episode 7, I was fully in. But it for me took until episode 7 before I was there. Right. All the time leading up there, every time we flashed to the adults, I was like, what is going on here? Like, why are we doing this? Like, oh man, just finish your mission. Like, get the mission done and then get back to the stuff that's interesting, right? And with
Right.
with the 11 stuff, a lot of that stuff is just, for me, was confusing. It was purposely confusing for the sake of the story. But I found that whenever we flashed to that stuff as well, I was just like, all right, is this moving? Like, what is it building up to? And the answer is that it built up to something incredible. Like, by the time we
Hmm.
finish the episode by the time we get to episode 7 and you start to put together how all these things connect, and you start to get really cool bits of action from the adult side of things. And then you also get the, really cool reveals and really cool stuff happening in episode 7. I thought all that stuff really came together beautifully, but it was, it, we did get there with some weird pacing for me during the season. And so like overall I did enjoy my time. I think the budget is on full display. I
Oh my
really
God.
liked the visuals. I really
Yeah.
loved the horror this time around was so scary, specifically especially the body stuff, where you would have like certain characters bones snap in certain ways, and
Oh.
like certain creatures come through and just decimate people in ways where it's like, damn, I thought this was a kid's show. I forget that, like, I don't know what it's rated. It must be like PG-13 or whatever, but like I forget that sometimes because it feels like a kid's show until you get to the shit that's like really gnarly in the action, and you're like, oh shit, damn, this is really scary. This is really intense. And I think for that stuff, they really went there, and I really enjoyed that stuff. That like the scenery, like all the cool CG stuff, I thought was done really well. Like there's a lot to enjoy about this season, I think, visually and in terms of the horror and in terms of the reveals and all that stuff. Like my only big gripe, honestly, is some of the pacing and some of the B plot stuff going on. But overall, I enjoyed it.
Kevin, what did you think of Stranger Things season 4?
I think I was in the same boat as you, Nick, where like I was like, "Oh, these are long episodes." I guess I think Friday came around. I was like, might as well start this because
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna kind of have to force myself to watch the whole thing. And then we started watching. I want to say it was maybe 8 or 9, and then suddenly we were 4 episodes in. It was like the middle of the night, and we're like, "Oh, we fucked up. We need to go to sleep." And like we stopped, I think, at the perfect place where it's like the story. Like I really enjoy all of the like different plots that we have going on concurrently, and then without any spoilers, by the time we get to the end, it like I think it really pays off. I think that what Blessing's saying, and we'll discuss it more with spoilers, like I think there is a moment where things really slow down, and it kind of, for at least one episode, it feels like, okay, I'm kind of stretching out the story a little bit. They do a good job re-engaging us with things, but I think that is more like symptomatic of like TV structure as a whole, period. But like overall, I think that the acting, the visuals, the story so far have been all great, and it really pays off at the end. And it's like I am itching to watch the next 2 episodes. Weirdly enough, like I also come out of it like I'm happy I was able to binge it all, but it is one of those things that I definitely think I would have had a great time going week to week. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. To me, I think we had all started. I remember we were in the production meeting on Friday. We were like, I don't know, we'll just talk about Stranger Things. We'll just see how far we all get.
Yeah.
And I think by episode 2, I was like, oh, I'm getting through this whole thing. This is, and because this was like one of the original bingeable shows for me, right? This is like to me, this is quintessential Netflix. And I'll disagree with you guys a little bit. I'm glad it wasn't week to week, only because to go back to y'all's point, like a lot of the stuff with 11 and the kids, like in the first couple episodes, kind of dragged for me, and I don't know that I would have been as engaged. I probably would have come back for the next episode, but it was like, I'm happy that we got through those first couple chapters of the book, because that's what this kind of felt to me more so than any other of the Stranger Things seasons leading up to this. Those always felt like TV shows. This really hit me. They've always been called chapter or whatever chapter. I think this one's like chapter. I think they went through 1 through 5 or whatever, 1 through 7 on this one. But the fact that they choose to put chapters in front of them makes me always think, oh, you're reading a book. This whole season really, really felt like that, and more so, it felt like reading a Stephen King novel, for better and for worse. I don't know if you guys have ever gone through a full Stephen King novel, but there's always a moment when you're halfway through, you go, man, this is a really long book, and there's a lot of characters in this book, and I remember I read Salem's Lot, and I was like, man, I'm really invested in some of these characters, and he just sets them up to die, and it is the Stephen King way. But by the time you get to the end, all of that means so much more than if you were to read a book that was half its size. He spends so much time with these and fleshes out this world, and that's what this season really, really does for me. So midway through, I was like, I am all in for this. I cannot wait for the next 2 episodes to come out. I do want to give a shout out to the budget of this show, which I think for the most part, I think this looks a lot like a 4-hour long movie than it does episodic television shows. And specifically, and I don't want to bring this energy into the group, so I'm just going to mention this. I think
You're
it looks.
You're bringing it here.
I just
say it.
Yeah,
I'm thinking it too, Nick.
Blows me away that this show looks like this, and that certain other shows on certain other platforms that have to do with supernatural fantasy beings with laser swords or superheroes, they don't look as good, and I don't understand why that isn't, why that's the case.
I feel like there are many different sets that we see in Stranger Things that are very desolate and empty, but they don't feel desolate and empty the way they do on other shows.
Yes.
Yeah,
and like
right. Yes.
the world feels better structured and better designed. If there's an award for like making sets look really cool, I feel like they do such a good job in every scenario that we're in. Like whether we're in some random boathouse or like a trailer park, like everything looks and feels right,
Now,
And it
obviously,
feels so produced. Like from the shots, the transitions. Like there's so many moments in the first episode where it is all right, cool. Now let's pan to this thing, but like there's a transition to it. Almost felt like watching like an Edgar Wright film in some moments where every single, and this is where I felt like I really felt the budget a lot at like every single second in certain scenes. I was like, oh, they really thought through how they're going to follow certain characters or how they're going to like bring us to the next scene with like the way that like you would have the sound effect play like during the transit, like the like pan kind of thing happening like moment to moment. Like if it feels like there's thought put into it, and it way more so than even like the shows that Nick is referencing from like other streaming services, right? Like this feels like it's produced to be a thing that is looked at as like, no, this is what we can do with the medium. Like this is where we can take it in terms of production and in terms of editing and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's some constraints when you're doing a show that revolves around space and in a fantasy world. You're going to have Stranger Things is much more grounded in reality, and a reality that's easy to go out and find if you depending on where your shooting locations are. But there is a superhero aspect of this, a supernatural aspect of this that I think they nail 100%. And a lot of that for me is I just think they did a great job of casting. There's a couple characters that are introduced in this, and we'll get into spoilers in a few minutes here, specifically that have great hair, just great hair, that are just so creepy and good. And I don't know. I mean, I think the show just across the board, there's not one bad element for me as far as acting is concerned. And you guys are 100% right? To me, this show feels like the Duffer Brothers sat down and did the old school Steven Spielberg way of shooting things, where they don't shoot for coverage. They shoot specifically for shots. And I mean, there's one thing that I made a note of. I think it's in the I think it was in the one of the houses, the boathouse, where a blinding light comes from behind him, and you think it's a scene transition, but it's not. It's actually someone's searchlight that's out on the river. Things like that, little touches like that, really go a long way into making this whole thing feel like it is a solid product, as opposed to an episodic thing that's being directed by multiple directors.
I think that's the thing where like it feels like these feel like movies because the quality is there. And like that isn't to talk shit about TV shows. They just typically they don't have the time and budget to like make them feel as good as this feels. You know what I mean? Like like again, those first 4 hours, and like it's still the episodes end with cliffhangers and leaves you ready for the next episode. But those first 4 hours or 4 episodes for us, like I was in awe of how quickly they passed and how much information they threw at us and how like good everything looked.
100%, right? And it's the way it's shot. It's the fact that we have so many different characters now. It's, I mean, this show just looks beautiful, and it all just vibes. But every element of it vibes 100%. And by the way, I want to note before we go into spoilers, just all of the references that the Duffer Brothers threw into this. Specifically, all of the things that are happening in this are just low-key references to all of the great fantasy, sci-fi, horror movies. I mean, the fact that there's a couple characters that pop up in this as well, actors specifically, that are very, very well known from the 80s, which is super, super cool. And they get it. This is all stuff that they're doing on purpose. And I'll explain to you guys a couple of the references.
I'm excited, because
I don't know if you guys know a few of them, but I'll throw those out.
I think I know who they are now that you're saying stuff, but like I don't know who those people are, you know what I mean?
And I'm going to tell you guys right after we take a word from our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by MeUndies. I love MeUndies from head to toe, all over my body. If you don't believe me, of course, right now, I'm wearing the MeUndies shirt. You can tell by the little tag going on right there, right? I got the MeUndies lounge shorts going on. Of course, I got the undies, and then boom, MeUndies socks, baby. That's how we do out here at KindaFunny. I love being soft head to toe in the micro-modal fabric. You already know all about that, but if you don't, let's face it, summer's sweaty, but your butt doesn't have to be. With MeUndies light and breathable micro-modal fabric, you can stay comfy and cool all summer long. They have super fun seasonal prints and tons of styles to choose from, but if you just like classic black, that's totally cool too. They got a bunch of just bold colors for you to go for. They have super fun seasonal prints, tons of styles, and sizes extra small to 4XL, so you can bring the beach to your butt without ever leaving your living room. MeUndies has a great offer for all of you first-time purchasers. You can get 15% off if you sign up for their free-to-join membership. You can apply that 15% off to their already discounted membership prices. To get 15% off your first order and 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/KindaFunny. That's MeUndies.com/KindaFunny. Tell them Tim Getty sent you. Shout out to Chime for sponsoring this episode. No one likes waiting on a paycheck, especially when you've got bills due. Good thing there's Chime. Now you can get your paycheck up to 2 days early without direct deposit. That's up to 2 more days to save, pay bills, and generally just feel good about your money situation. But Chime is about more than just getting paid early. It's also an award-winning mobile app, checking account, debit card, and optional savings account. So what are you waiting for? Hopefully not your paycheck. Get started with Chime today. Applying for a free account takes less than 2 minutes. Get started at chime.com/KFgames. That's CHIME.com/KFgames. Banking services and debit card provided by the Bancorp Bank or Stride Bank NA. Members FDIC. Early access to direct deposit funds depends on payer. Get started at chime.com/KFgames. Shout out to Credit Karma for sponsoring this episode. Want a new credit card but not sure how to choose? You don't need to apply for the first offer that you see in the mail. Credit Karma can help you zero in on the right option for you and apply with more confidence. I love Credit Karma. I've been using it for years to check my credit profile, make sure everything is good and on the up and up. Credit Karma uses your credit profile to show you offers that are tailored to your financial situation. Credit Karma partners with a wide range of card issuers, so you can be sure that you're exploring all sorts of options. Best of all, Credit Karma uses your credit data to show you your chances of approval before you even apply, helping you apply with more confidence. Comparing cards on Credit Karma is 100% free and most importantly, will not affect your credit score. That is huge. Credit Karma, create your own karma. Ready to find the right card for you? Head to Credit Karma and check out your personalized mix of offers today. That's creditkarma.com or hit up the Credit Karma app to find the right card for you. That's creditkarma.com.
Okay, we're going full spoiler territory right now. It blew me away when they get to the dad, the guy that plays the creepy dad that carved his eyes out.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, the second he turned around and I saw his profile, I was like, oh my God, that's Robert Englund. He's the guy that played Freddy Krueger. That's awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
Awesome
I
that
did
they
not
got
realize
that.
that.
That's
And the
so
first
cool.
thing you see is he's using his nails to carve through a table, and I'm
Yeah.
like, you motherfuckers.
That's awesome.
You got me on that one, which is great. And also just the fact that low key, the idea of your worst fears being used against you in like a dreamlike state is very,
Yep.
very Freddy Krueger. It's
Very
also
Freddy
very,
Krueger.
very, very Flatliners. If you guys haven't ever seen
Yep.
the original Flatliners, this whole thing that I was watching with Dee, and she was like, these guys really liked Flatliners. Like the idea of like going into like a death world and having to face your fears and all these things. And I was like, yeah, I think they liked that and Nightmare on Elm Street a lot.
Yes.
There's also some low key nods to Carrie in the beginning where she gets the kids are being assholes to her and they throw the milkshake on her.
Chocolate, yeah.
All that stuff,
What a
and then she
waste
gets
of
hyper violent with them. And then just everything out in the desert is so ET. It's so third counter, first encounters. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
First
yeah,
encounters
yeah.
of the third guy.
Third kind, that's it.
Thank you. But all that stuff is just, it's cool. It's window dressing for a show that I feel is really, 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 really good. But let's.
I feel like that's why the show feels so rich, because there's constantly moments like that where you're like, I don't know who, like there's definitely references happening here, like the Freddy Krueger thing. Like you definitely feel that, and to find out that like the dad is
he plays Victor Creel. That's the name of the character.
Like that's really, really cool.
That's
Yeah,
really
it
cool.
was cool.
I also love how willing they are to like lean into different types of horror stuff too. Like, and I think it falls into that homage territory where you have the body horror stuff, like people's bones cracking, all that shit. But like toward the latter half of the season, you have I forget his name, but like the jock dude who's on the search for Eddie. Steve, yeah, not Steve Harrington.
Oh, the kid that's the head of the basketball team.
Yes,
Yeah.
you have that kid, and
That's-
he's essentially leading a witch hunt.
Yes.
And like once we get there, I was like, at first I was like, I don't know how I feel about it. Then I realized what they're doing. I was like, oh, okay, like I see where this is going, and I think
But-
this could have some cool stuff with it too.
What's really cool about that is the production design from that was what really got me, right? These kids all are in uniform always. They're always
Yes.
in either the basketball uniform, the Letterman jacket, or at one point they go full on like Men in Black when they leave the funeral.
Yeah.
And they're just this hit squad that's walking around. And I love that. I love that they become antagonists in addition to a bunch of other antagonists, and you understand where they're coming from.
But I
Go ahead.
love that on top of everything, like it uses real life events, because like D&D like did have a huge problem that
that
people
was
were
a
like,
big
oh, it's a
deal. Yeah.
satanic thing. And it's like, what a perfect way to tie this in for something they've been building. Because like in season 1, they're playing D&D. That's where the Demogogon or whatever gets its
Well,
name,
Well,
right?
if I'm not mistaken, I never played D&D because I wasn't a dork. I played Robotech, the RPG game. That's what the cool kids played for when you
I don't know that I
tabletop
believe you.
gaming.
I don't know that I believe you actually
Oh
played.
my
Did
God,
you
hold on,
actually
wait.
play?
Oh,
No. You had the little toys,
Let me
right?
s-
Like
oh,
you
wait,
didn't.
where are they? Are the dice still here?
Oh my God.
I have my dice somewhere. I'll find them. I'll find
Vecna is
them.
also a D&D.
Yeah, I think all these characters,
yeah.
Mind
Yeah,
Flayer
yeah,
and Vecna, I think they're all drawn from D&D.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what mythology that's drawn from. I don't know if that's like Cthulhu or
Yeah, I
whatever
think
the heck.
it
I
might
don't
be
know
a
where
combination of Lovecraftian, but like and then just
Yeah.
old world.
and just
stuff.
like I think they draw from a lot of different places.
Yeah, a lot
but
of
that was
different
one of the things that D was like, oh wow, D&D is really kind of prevalent in this season. I was like, no, all of the stuff comes from D&D, the demographic.
Yeah.
That's how these kids are able to. That's why this show's so genius, is
Understand,
because
yeah.
these dork kids like they understand what's happening, or rather. It's not that they understand what's happening; it's that they translate what's happening into
they
a language.
apply
that
their
can
own
be-
logic. That's the thing that
Exactly.
like toward the beginning of the, because I watch it with subtitles on, and so like wait, they called that thing Vecna, and then you see
Yeah.
it, and it starts like talking, and the subtitles is like Vecna is saying this, and the whole time I'm like, wait, how do these kids like just know, like how do they get it right every time? And I was like, hey, no, okay, no, this is their understanding. Like it's the thing is actually as it's revealed, right? We're in spoilers, right? Like it's one that is
Right.
quote unquote Vecna, but they just understand it to be Vecna. I feel like that is such a genius way to do it, so that like you have really cool, like you have cool villain names like after every season where it's like,
Yeah.
oh no, that's Demogorgon. Oh no, that's the Mind
Well,
Flayer. Oh no, that's Vecna. Like that's
and
cool.
they set it up right because Eddie is as the dungeon master. The I don't know if you guys caught it or not, but the quest that they go on is to beat
Is
Vecna.
yeah.
So the bad guy that they have to go, which by the way, we gotta have a break and talk about the little sister character in this
Oh, she's
because
hilarious.
she's the
Great.
fucking
She's
best part of the
great.
show.
She's a little
Full
too
stop.
real, you know what I mean?
God bless her. I
Like
know.
the moments where
Like,
she's
it's
calling
just,
people out, I was like, you know what? I don't like the way she's calling people out, but she's
We're like,
right.
that's Kevin.
You know?
But she's
Kevin's
not
like,
wrong.
That's little me right there.
but her joining the Hellfire Club and them going on the quest as the other stuff's happening in the other action, I thought was so well done.
Her,
and
why
it's
is
a
she
great
just
way
wearing an American flag cape?
because she fucking can.
Like,
'cause she can.
is there anything cooler? You know?
It's awesome. But I love that. I love that because that sets up kind of what the whole season's going to be about. And they've done that. They did that before because if I'm not mistaken, in season 1, the first game that they were rolling against when they were finishing that campaign was against the Demogorgon.
Yes.
So, and then I think the Mind Flayer came in at some point later. So I love that it's all wrapped in that, and that gives the reader context for what's going on without having to like spoon feed it to us, or rather the viewer, which is super, super cool. But I did, having said that, I was like, wait, who was the Mind Flayer again? I had to go down a rabbit hole
I had to
last
do
night
that same thing too. Yeah.
and look through that because I totally forgot like all the mall stuff and the next gate that was open and all that stuff. But what I thought was really, really cool was them going back in, and this is a difficult thing to do when you go back in and sort of I don't want to say retcon, but flesh out in a different manner with a different conclusion, the origins for a character. And so I was kind of blown away by the time we get to that fight between her. Well, first off, I was like, I kind of saw him coming from a mile away. I'm like, that guy's got to be one, right? The second he mentioned it, I was like, that guy's totally one. But then when he goes full ham,
That caught
I
me
was
off
like,
guard.
oh,
That caught
this
me
is
off guard.
awesome. And I was like, because I thought it was going to be 7. I think the 7 was that little shit kid that kept messing with 11. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, he's going to be the one that went ham and killed all the kids. But no, it was 1. And that guy
I
was
feel
great.
like I was like, they got me. I was very much like, oh, okay, something happened, triggered her, and she like accidentally kills everyone.
Right.
And then when it starts going down, it's like, oh, okay, it's clear that like 7 and his like pals are gonna come in and are gonna like actually try to kill her, and she's gonna kind of accidentally just turn in like insane.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
when
not be able to control her powers, kind
when
of a
she
Jean
pulls
Grey
that
thing.
when she pulls that thing out and he fucks up everyone. Like, to me, that was such a good moment of like, oh shit, he's won. Yeah, like that was a great moment. And then they did it again with like it being the little kid. Like, as soon as we saw the little kid, I was like, we're gonna see this kid again. We're gonna see this little kid again. But again, when it was like, he was like, my backstory is this, and it was like, oh, he's a little kid from the house. And then at that point, you have all the pieces, and you're like, oh my god, he's the real bad guy.
I love how, like, as I was watching it, how little sense it made until it made all the sense.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Like as she pushes them into the portal, right, or the gate, and you see like his body degrading and all this shit, right, and like you start putting together those pieces. It's like, oh, okay, I get it. For me, I that was the moment where it all came together for me, where I was just like, this doesn't make sense. Oh, it's disjointed. Oh, it's a stretch that like all this shit is somehow connected, and they pull it together in the perfect way that made me go, okay, no, I believe it. Like this makes sense, and also like this is sick as hell. I legit can't wait to see like what the next few episodes are of them taking him on, because like they built him up to be terrifying now, especially now seeing him as one, as like him fucking all these other people up. Like I'm so excited for the rest of it.
Me too. Go ahead, Kev.
I was just gonna say, like, I think that no shit, I lost it. Come back to me.
Okay. I was gonna say I'm right there with you guys, and it asks a lot. There's 2 questions that I have that I kind of want them to explore, even though I think I pretty much know the answer. The first that I thought was cool was when they go back into Hawkins when they're in the Upside Down, and it's frozen it's like frozen 3 years ago or whatever it was when the start of this all happened.
Started, yeah.
And I was kind of looking into it last night, and I guess it was either when she did this or when she opened the original gate that Hawkins got sucked into upside down, and that's everything's frozen there. Because I always
Yeah.
wonder, I was like, if you move a car in Hawkins, how come it's not moved
Yep.
in this? And it's because whenever that original rift between the worlds opened,
That's when it was.
she imprinted Hawkins on that or whatever it was, which I
Yeah.
thought was super freaking cool. I was like, that was a great concept,
Oh,
right?
the entire scene where they're stuck in the upside down and they're trying to communicate with also
With the
before I
light,
even get
right?
there, right? I want to shout out the returning characters. Like Dustin's character,
Great.
like he might be one of the most lovable characters on Netflix. Like it is this kid fucking rocks. Like the Steve making fun of his teeth and being like, I'm sorry, man, too far.
Yeah,
too
too
far.
far.
Like
Yeah.
that killed me. But yeah, like them in the upside down communicating with Dustin and trying to figure out how this shit works, and like then recalling season 1 of Winona Ryder like getting the communications from her son via light,
Mhm.
and like figuring out like, oh yeah, we can communicate with them via the light and figure out like them doing all that stuff. I thought was really cool. And then the scene where they look up and they see they see
hole.
the regular world and like they're
Yeah.
looking down in the upside down. Such a cool visual
So
that
cool.
like Stranger Things, I think has just done such a good job of establishing like their visual identity and in their style in a way where when I think of Stranger Things, it's almost like thinking of Star Wars, where I'm like, I think of in Star Wars, I think of the lightsabers, right? I think of the like TIE fighters, right? I think of
Yeah.
like the
The
Death
built-up
Star. Like there's
world.
certain visuals that come to mind with that.
Yeah.
Stranger Things has done that for me now, where legit like I think of the upside down, I think of how gross it looks, I think of like wet tentacles fucking like dragging it across the ground,
so
right? Like
wet.
they're so wet, but like it's so cool. And yeah, like I think they do such a good job of providing those moments where it's like, damn, this just looks cool as hell. And I'm looking up and down through the portal. I was like, dude, this is fucking insane.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
then me
and
actually going through it and the way the physics
and it
works of that,
flips.
like how
Yeah.
cool is that? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, blessing to riff off that for a sec. I love it. And I love it because the Duffer Brothers are taking inspiration pretty boldly from all the series that came before. Even when you look at the posters, I mean, those posters harken back to like the old school, like hand-drawn, hand-painted posters of the 80s and 90s when you're seeing all those fantastical movies that they're drawing from. And they're not like trying to hide that. They're obviously paying homage to it. And it's just a love letter to all of those movies. Anything from John Carpenter films to like Friday the 13th to Spielbergian movies, and it's super cool. And I'm just impressed that I think this season for me is the strongest season so far, and that says a lot because I really liked the first season. But I think I didn't when we started this. I was like, I don't really care about where Elle's at, and by the end of it, I'm like,
Yep.
oh my god, this is incredible, right? Because it's sort of like not a redemption arc for her, but like I lost my powers, I got to get my powers back arc. I especially when we started with in Russia with Hopper, I was like, I don't want to watch. One of the things I hate is watching a character be fucking tortured in a prison for an entire season.
Yep.
With like
But
no way out
his-
and it's just
yeah,
no growth.
But
you
his
know?
arc, well, for don't let me forget to talk about the karate guy. But his arc came full circle, and I love where he's at with the dude from Game of Thrones, where he's like, I thought I was sent here as a punishment, but I was sent here for a reason, and it's to kill this thing, like, and to help Elle however I possibly can. I thought that was a great moment from
really,
David Harbour.
really solid.
The guy, but you better believe that at some point when we're all partying together, I'm gonna tell you guys my fingers are arrows and my arm is a spear because that guy, that
so
scene where he kicks Yuri's ass in the plane was hilarious. What a well made, what a beautiful moment.
Yeah,
like that whole plot line was one that I was so tired of, but then did win me over by the end because the moment of like the plane and getting into the fight of the plane was really fun, and then that just the entirety of episode 7 of them going up against the Demogorgon and like the amount of tension that they build with David Harbour like picking up the spear and like pouring on the alcohol and trying to light it, but the lighter not turning on and like trying to like turn
Sucks
it on
that
like the whole time.
Everyone except for the 2 people we cared about died. Like you
Yeah.
really couldn't save anyone else, not
No, it
one
didn't
other
need those
person.
guys. They ate too much turkey. That's why when you see the turkey, you eat just
I get
enough
that
turkey. It's the
turkey.
tryptophan. It sticks with
Yeah.
you.
And also
no.
Demogorgon was
Wait,
fucking
so-
up too.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about the like. So there were 2 things that happened where I was like, oh, I'm really worried about. The first one is episode 5 where everything just goes to hell. Like we are, I believe that's the end of episode 4 is when it gets revealed that Yuri is a piece of shit, right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And
Let's see. I can look it
like
up here.
that to me that was such a bummer of like, I was so ready. I was like, I want this escape to just be clean. When he's
Yep.
in there eating peanut butter, putting on new blue jeans, I was like, yes, let that be the end of it. Let's reunite everyone.
No.
And then we have that moment where it's like, nope, Yuri's a piece of shit. Everything's going to chaos. And it's like, ugh, I don't need to now go on another ride. Like, you don't need to take me up to the top of this peak to climax again. Like, I was good where we're at. But that being said, I do feel like episode 5 I thought was a total drag of like, ugh, now we're resetting, because everyone has that moment where they're kind of like set back around there.
Yeah, it's
And
that,
it's just kinda like-
where they get plunged to the lowest moment possible, where they
Right.
thought they were going to be
Yeah.
good, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're back in prison, and the guy that was going to help you get out of prison is now in
Is
prison
also
with
in
you.
prison with you, yeah.
Right, so it's the low point in the story for
Yeah.
them. But I'm
that-
right there
I
with
think-
you.
Yeah. I was gonna say is that around when the reveal for 11 like Papa comes
That's
out?
so. Episode 5 is the Nina project.
Yeah.
And by the way, I just want everyone to know, just as a general rule, if you want to know another incredible reference back to the 80s, don't trust Paul Reiser. Just don't trust him, okay? He always comes off as that nice guy that's got your back, but boom,
He
you'll
seems
turn
so
around and
nice.
he locks you in a room with fucking aliens. That's what's gonna happen every single time with Paul Reiser. That's why I couldn't watch that show he was on with Helen Hunt. I was just like, at some point, he's gonna screw her over. That's the
Not
Nina
Helen
project.
Hunt. You know, that's where the line is.
Yeah, don't mess with Helen Hunt. She's in Twister. Yeah, I'd have to read through this to tell you, but I think this is roughly this is where she gets kind of put back into the hellscape
Yeah.
of her own
Yeah, yeah,
memories,
yeah.
and this is where we get introduced to number 1. We don't know who he is at that point. But by the way, I love the visual where he's like, you're just like me, and he pulls up his sleeve,
Yeah.
and he's 001 and she's 011.
Yeah.
And they put it. That's such a cool shot. I'm like, God.
Absolutely.
And then I thought to myself, I was like, if I was Millie Bobby Brown, would I get that tattoo? Because it's kind of
I think I would.
it's kind of fucked up.
Like,
but
I
it's
feel
kinda
like
cool as
if
shit.
you get like an iconic role like that where you are like, because like everyone's always gonna remember that, and she'll do.
She's always going to be 11
she's
for
a
the rest of her
phenomenal
life.
actor. She'll
Yeah.
do bigger, better things. Like
Yeah,
I'm sure at some
100%.
point she'll get an Oscar for some amazing role, because she disappears in these things. But it is a cool homage to like the origins, because like
Yeah, like, this is
when
where it
your
all started
first
for me.
role is something as big. Like yeah, I think that.
And also, it'll be a
that's
small
awesome.
tattoo you can cover up
Yeah.
for your favorite
Yeah, and put a
roles.
little thing on there. That'd be super cool.
But so
Sorry,
and
go
then
ahead, Kev.
there's another moment where the teen squad gets stuck in the upside down.
Mm-hmm.
Where I was kind of like, I don't understand why they don't just jump back down. There's not that many. Like, there was a moment where there wasn't that many bats around.
Right.
I guess
Yeah,
they
it
were
was like, just
scared
turn
that
around
like,
and,
the
like, get
tentacles
back
were
in
gonna
there.
grab them or something. They were gonna drown.
Well, he
I
had been
get
dragged
that.
really far too, and
Yeah.
so I don't
That's
think
what I'm
they
saying,
did a
the
great job
tentacles-
explaining that. Yeah.
And
It
they
seems
ended up
like-
saying that it was guarded, and so maybe it was
Yeah.
like
I
maybe they
think
just didn't show it to the audience. Maybe they had like fucking people blocking the shit.
Well, I think those bats, their tails can extend very, very long. I think that's what the tentacles
That
that,
makes
pulled
sense.
them in were. But that was another moment where I was like, ugh, here we go. Like, they're going to bring us into the upside down, and they haven't been great about explaining stuff. I feel like for a while we've had theories that, like, that 11 had created the upside down, or
Yeah.
you know, when she had that moment where she sees the Demogorgon and touches him. And it's cool to finally get answers, but also before they tell us how it's created, we get the conversation of like, well, I have a gun in my like drawer.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go and find it. And that's when they figure out, oh no, these things aren't constantly updating, because it is, I think, a concerning thing to be like, well, like, how does it work? Like, like when you move something, is it just floating in the upside down? Like, you know? So I'm glad that they've started explaining these things, and that, like, to me, the explanation makes sense and is cool.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
And
and I like that there's still that tinge of mystery, right? Like where did it come from? Has it just always existed? Like if you walk outside of Hawkins, does the upside down exist beyond Hawkins? Like when the one got pulled into the upside down, like so was that before it got established? Was there a new update like 3 years ago? Like how
Yeah.
exactly? Like I still have so many questions, but I think
yeah.
that's kind of the point of it.
I do think that was the moment it was created, because we do see him like in a weird in-between space where like it seems like just everything around him is kind of like terrestrial and like
Yeah, it's fucked up.
volcanoes almost. Yeah.
But, like it seems like there's still like he doesn't seem like he's the the top, right? Like they said that he's like one of the most powerful soldiers to whatever the fucking like
Yeah, but
You're
I
talking
think
about
that
Vecna?
was a
The Hive.
guess because they called him
Yeah.
a general, and I feel like the show is setting him up to be like the reason why the upside down was created, and
Mm.
like,
See, I
it
think
definitely seems like a final boss. That being said, there is one more season.
that's my
Sure,
thing
one
is my
more season.
prediction. My
Yeah.
theory slash prediction is that by the end of the season we get a reveal that is like, no, now here is the final boss. Like Vecna was just working for what is the actual creator slash run, like the fucking devil essentially.
Yeah,
Right.
but
Um,
like I do think that we've gotten a lot of information directly from Vecna, or like him as a human talking to both 11 and also what, Natalie, is that her name? Nancy.
Nancy.
Yeah, Nancy, explaining stuff where it's like it doesn't seem like he was doing anything because there was something drawing him. It seems like he was doing stuff because like he wasn't 100% right in the head and was just kind of exploring these abilities that seemingly came out of nowhere.
Mm.
But
Either way.
did they
We're gonna
come
get
out of
answers.
nowhere? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or did something to bring them forth? I don't know. It's
These are
very
all
exciting.
questions that hopefully for sure will probably be answered by season 5. But we'll see how far we get in the next 2 episodes. It's so funny to think because you walk away from seasons or episode 7. I'm like, wow, what a great conclusion to all those stories. We had this wonderful, and again, I think this is why this season stands out to me is because everything built up to all these different planes of action happening. Right? You got Elle. We've remembering her fight with one, which was great. At the same time, Hopper's fighting the Demogorgon. At the same time, Nancy's now trapped in the Upside Down with Vecna, and all of these things
It's also
are
like, guys,
happening.
put headphones on her. Like, you know how this works.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you have to imagine. That's what, right? They're like, throw the headphones to the thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But you have to pick her favorite song, right? And maybe only Steve knows what her favorite song is. We don't know because we've
I
got
don't
that
like that
burgeoning
shit.
relationship.
We didn't
I love it.
talk about that at all.
I was gonna
I
say,
don't
I'm
like that
tired
shit
for it.
one bit.
I'm tired of Nancy,
in
all
for
right?
it.
Pick one. Pick one. Every season she ping pongs back and forth between the
Blessing,
two.
No,
Nancy's
I
a
feel like-
hot
I feel like-
commodity. Okay, she's got to get her options out there on the table.
But also,
and
like,
pick which
both her
one's right.
options suck. Like,
Steve is
John-
Steve is way better than Jonathan.
I-
I'm
every
sorry.
like
context.
Jonathan is creepy and he's a peeping Tom.
He's
Steve
not-
was a bully for like a season and a half.
Yeah.
Like, you have a town full of other boys. Go find them.
I think that John's in a really sad, like, it's interesting because I feel like his story we've seen the least about, but like it is a really interesting place where they're coming at where he's like deeply depressed and like is too scared to leave his family because
Yeah.
like, he's
They've seen some shit.
yeah,
They've
and not
been through
only
some
that,
shit.
like they have been the ones to solve all the problems. So it's like, how can he leave when like, because 11, does 11 live with him?
Yeah, 11 lives with Jonathan and Joyce.
Yeah.
as Jane, her original name.
Yeah. But
was
so
in
you know what I'm
Michael
saying? Like
Bergman.
she is the main thing that like all these things
And Will.
tend to be around.
Yeah.
And like I get why he's like, I don't know that I can leave to go to college, and like why he's that like makes him depressed, and now he's just this kind of stoner loser that doesn't seem like he's got much going on. He'll
Oh,
probably
Yeah,
get
it
together.
is sad. Like, they're not giving his character much to do this season.
Yeah, but I think that once Hopper comes back in, like that could help fill that. That like because
The
11
role
could
of
go with
the father,
Hopper.
yeah.
11 could go with Hopper and like there's less of a threat now, or I don't know if Hopper's gonna end up staying with Winona Ryder. Like I feel like they're setting that up in a weird way where it doesn't have to be romantic, but they haven't super decided yet.
But I think there's
I'm just
also
very
the-
excited.
There's also the low-key theme of that love lost and that growth and just moving on, right? Because we get that with 11 and Will, where Will clearly is like not necessarily in the relationship anymore, right? He won't say I love you. He's not. I get the feeling from
Wait,
him
I'm sorry.
that
You mean
he's-
Mike, right?
Mike, excuse me, not Will. Will's the other kid with the weird haircut. Mike,
His haircut's so bad.
So weird.
it's so bad. But I think they did that on purpose because
Yeah.
for the longest time I could not tell the difference between those two when they were growing
I'm
up. And
glad-
if he
yeah,
had
I'm glad
Finn
they
Wolfhard
did.
hair, I'd be like, we gotta
I was so
we gotta
confused
do
in episode
something.
1 when that girl in his class like was like flirting with him, like caressing him with her foot, and I'm like,
Mhm.
do you not see the haircut? Like, leave that boy alone.
Yeah, this kid's figuring some stuff out.
There are
right
probably
now.
hotter kids in your class that you can go
Yeah.
talk to.
But I will say, but,
No
but
offense.
so with Jonathan and Nancy, that's kind of what I felt there, where he was like, "Oh, I got to do this thing," but it kind of felt like he didn't want to go to that other college or use her as an excuse to go to that other college. I kind of felt like he was like, everyone's moving. I mean, that's what happens, right? When you graduate high school and you think you're going to be in love forever, and then that was just kind of that was a moment in time, and I like that they're exploring that because to me that that speaks to the fact that this is kind of still a teen drama, right? There is that young
Such
love,
a good one too.
and it's great, and that's super good. Before we wrap this up, and we're gonna come back, by the way, and talk about Stranger Things season 4, part 2, when it comes out in July. But before I wrap that up, I want to give 2 notable shout outs. One is to Argyle, who is just the best character. He was great in this. He was great in Booksmart. He's this
the
actor
stoner
is
friend?
amazing.
Is
Yeah,
that
the guy with the
stoner
long
friend?
hair who drives the
Beautiful
pizza
hair.
truck.
Like God,
Beautiful
it's
hair.
one of those things where like it made me think like I shouldn't have cut my hair. I should have just straightened
You
it
should have just kept
and
it
taken
going.
good care of it because it is beautiful. I also love the relationship they're building up with Dustin's girlfriend's sister.
That was good. What?
Yeah, and
yeah.
Argyle.
Who, by the way, again, you want to know a little tiny nod, is dressed like Ali Sheedy from the Breakfast Club in all black with like the brooch.
Yeah,
I feel and she looked
she
like
also
her.
has the hair.
She has that dark hair.
100% on purpose, and I
So funny.
love it. I'm all in.
And yeah, to that point, I want to give a shout out to Susie. Because when he started singing the Never Ending Story thing, I was like, oh, they're bringing Susie back. And that is the best thing ever. And she's like the hacker kid that they go to like hack and all that stuff. Super great. Anyway, guys, closing thoughts on Stranger Things Season 4, Part 1.
Big shout out to the returning cast. Absolutely, like especially Dustin. Like Dustin is always like a delight. Whenever I see him on screen, I'm like, just keep this kid on screen the entire time. Shout out to that. My one prediction, speaking of Nancy and how Nancy bounces back and forth between Jonathan and Steve
I don't think
Harrington.
that she does that. I don't think she does that. Rewatch seasons 1 through 4.
Well, let me go back
There's
and
a
rewatch.
heat between her and Steve.
There
right
is
now.
a heat.
There's
There is a heat. I think
there's,
that's
like,
something they're
always that heat.
reintroducing. I don't know.
I feel like that. I feel like she's always kind of back and
There's
forth
been
on them.
moments in prior seasons where yes, the heat was there and it was real. But like they're gonna get through this. Everything's gonna be fine.
Well, here's the thing. My prediction, and this is what I'm introducing to the screencast. The Blessing ship prediction. All right, it's
Okay.
the characters that I think are going to be shipped together by the end of the season.
Okay, I love this.
Robin and
Hear
Nancy.
me out. All right. Wait, what was that?
When I said Robin and Nancy.
That's exactly where I was going with it. I
There
think
it is.
Robin and Nancy are
Yeah.
going to end up together by the end of the season.
I think they're
You got some
definitely setting
chemistry.
up. They're definitely setting up that Robin is like infatuated. Might not be the right word, but it's not the wrong one. With Nancy.
Yeah, Robin for sure is developing a little bit of a crush on Nancy.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think like they
which-
made it very clear that like Robin's like, hey, we're not a thing, like we're single. And I think the red herring is that, oh, okay, they're setting up Nancy and Steve,
right.
but they're really setting up Nancy and Robin.
Either
Mark my
way,
words.
I love that they sort of had that a little bit of antagonism against each other because of Steve at the beginning, and then like quickly she just threw that aside, and now they're kind of besties,
Yeah.
which is cool. I also want to give a shout out to the actress that plays Max. I think a lot of the first few episodes revolve around her, obviously, and I just read I saw a headline that said that song she listened to just became #1 on Spotify because of
That's
Stranger Things.
awesome. That's
It's like an old
awesome.
school like
That's so
single
cool.
hit from the 80s that I don't even think I've ever heard that song before, but now it's like a banger for everyone, which is super cool. And I hope she gets back together with Lucas, or at least they explore that. That'd be a fun relationship to get
I
shipped.
forgot about Lucas.
I know Lucas. I mean, I know. And again, all of these great storylines just intertwined. I love him having a foot in both worlds, where he's desperately trying to fight for the Hellfire Club because he knows it's just Dungeons and Dragons. He's the only one that gets it and can explain it to the jocks. But these jocks are just not having it because they're just out there thumping Bibles and trying to burn people at the stake. And
Well,
and
to
I
be
mean,
fair, someone was like 2 people were violently murdered.
inexplicably murdered in front of this kid who saw them lifted into the air. He's not wrong. There is someone casting a spell. It's just not these
Yeah,
kids.
this is some demonic bullshit. He's actually right on that.
And that actor is great. He does the perfect 1980s asshole bully sort of like.
Dude, his speech where he's
so
like,
good.
trying to rally the troops, fantastic. I believed him. I was like, I was about to go to the store and buy a fucking pitchfork. I was ready for it.
Oh, also the guy that plays Eddie is fantastic as well. Kevin, parting thoughts. Are you excited for the next part?
I am absolutely excited. Like I am utterly shocked at how excited I am so far in this half of the season. I think it's an easy 5.0 on our scale. Like
100%.
excellent, great, amazing, whatever what that stands for. Because like I'm so in. And I'm stoked. It's a bummer they didn't release it. I think try out the weekly release because I feel like it would have been fun to talk to people, and it would have made the reveal at the end that we get even bigger. And
that's the thing is like being able to talk, like being able to hear somebody be like, "Oh, you think one is Vecna and like get that reveal at the end. That would have been some tight shit. That would have been dope as hell.
That would have been very, very cool. But I'm guessing Netflix, unfortunately, needs to bring people back to their platform as fast as humanly possible.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing this strategy was to get a nice little subscriber bump by the end of this quarter. But that's just me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm with Kevin as well. Right now, I'm gonna give Stranger Things season 4 a tentative 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I'll tell you why.
We don't do halves.
I'm gonna give it 5 stars, but just know that I'm withholding half a star until the next part comes out because. That otherwise, I mean, listen. If I don't do this blessing, maybe they just delay it even further. Maybe they don't ever release the next part.
That's true,
so we have to just stay strong and let Netflix know we're very, very excited for Stranger Things season 4, part 2. Let us know what you thought about this show in the comments below. Let us know if we got anything wrong there, or what your theories are on who created the Upside Down. Was it Elle? Does it exist beyond Hawkins? Are all these characters just figments of my imagination that the Duffer Brothers have reached in my head and now owe me royalties for? We love you guys very, very much. We're excited to see your theories and all that stuff in the comments. And yeah, stick around because a month from now we're gonna binge watch the last 4 hours of Stranger Things and let you know what we thought. Bye.